It's a little world, all things considered. That was the end reached at an August 2006 gathering of the International Astronomical Union. And keeping in mind that lone 424 of a qualified 9,000 democratic individuals partook, it added up to a planetary expulsion notice for Pluto. But the gathering accomplished more than diminish the close planetary system from 9 undeniable planets to 8. It likewise made a completely new order of divine bodies. We should investigate our close planetary system's 5 little ponders, the bantam planets. Ceres. So nice they classified it twice. In spite of being the littlest of the 5 bantam planets, Ceres was the first found. The explanation is that Ceres, situated in the asteroid belt among Jupiter and Mars, is by a long shot the nearest. So despite the fact that it's the dwarfiest predominate, Sicilian stargazer Giuseppe Piazzi seen it back in 1801, over a century prior to Pluto made its planetary presence known. Calling Ceres a planet, even of the bantam assortment, appears to be liberal. At just 950 kilometers in breadth, its mass is simply 0.015% of Earth's and multiple times not as much as Pluto. Indeed, Ceres is tiny to the point that it's also delegated a space rock. However, with all due respect, it is the biggest space rock in the Sun-powered system. Ceres is a stone among relative stones. It includes a full quarter of the asteroid belt's complete mass and, in contrast to its neighbors, has an almost round body and likely has water ice underneath its outside. Supporting this attestation, in 2014 the European Space Agency's Herschel Space Observatory identified water fume heaving from 2 unique regions of Ceres, perhaps from ice volcanoes, which is pretty awesome. Ceres is unmistakable enough from its environmental factors that it was presented bantam planet status in 2006. It is named for the Roman goddess of harvests, which is likewise how breakfast oak got its name. Mission to Ceres. A trip back in time. Ceres is a still flawless survivor from the soonest days of the nearby planetary group, some 4.6 billion years prior, so considering its qualities give disclosures into the close planetary system's fundamental structure blocks. In 2007, NASA dispatched an aggressive mission to extensively plan Ceres, and Vesta, the following biggest article in the asteroid belt, by setting a rocket in circle around it. Named the Dawn mission to pay tribute to its birthplace's driven expectations, the shuttle arrived at Ceres in March 2015. The intel assembled demonstrates Ceres probably framed farther from the Sun and moved into the inward nearby planetary group. This affirmation was drawn on the grounds that Ceres' surface creation incorporates a lot of consolidated alkali, which requires the external nearby planetary group's colder temperatures to shape. The mission additionally found a plenitude of water, incorporating a rough mantle with water-rich rocks, for example, dirts, and a frosty external shell. Scientists were especially interested by Ceres organics, the structure squares of life. A particular carbon-hydrogen chain of organics was found in probably the most profound pit, proposing the material at first framed in its once profound ocean, adding to the energy as proof that Ceres was geographically dynamic generally as of late. This is upheld by its sparkling exhibit of in excess of 300 splendid highlights, called faculae, that glimmer on a generally dull scene. The most brilliant of these contains the biggest store of carbonate minerals ever seen outside Earth. This recommends briny water rose to Ceres' surface in the new past and kept salts, an indication of a solid, living planetoid. Eris, a misjudged nail in Pluto's grave. One reason Pluto got downgraded in 2006 was the revelation of Eris a year sooner. Right up till the present time, the two actually don't talk. At the point when stargazers discovered Eris in January 2005, it was at first articulated the biggest Earth yet. Its width was assessed at 2,300 to 2,400 kilometers, making it 27% more gigantic than Pluto. This incited the International Astronomical Union, IAU, to re-evaluate its meaning of a planet, the primary bad mark in Pluto's relaxing handle on full planethood. The issue is, all things considered, they were simply unacceptable. Further perception proposed that Eris is very more modest than Pluto. Sadly, this wasn't understood until 2010, 4 years after Pluto got the boot. Luckily, sheer mass wasn't the great explanation. Pluto was downsized, more on that later. Back to Eris, which has a wild streak to it. For one, its circle is inconsistent, crossing Pluto's and almost meeting Neptune's in a weirdo, oval-molded excursion that takes Eris and its moon, Dysnomia, 557 years to circle the Sun, more than twice the length it takes Pluto. In doing as such, Eris plunges all through the Kuiper belt, a band of generally space rock estimated bodies past Neptune involved by each bantam planet aside from Ceres. The surface of Eris probably comprises of nitrogen and methane scattered in an incredibly dainty, 1 mm layer. A few researchers imagine that what we see as Eris' surface really is its dense air, which possibly ventures into gas when the planetoid is nearer to the Sun. The 10th planet? The previous passage talks about how Eris' disclosure prompted a re-evaluation of how planets were characterized, beginning Pluto's year-long slide to downgrade. Yet, that result wasn't inescapable. Another unmistakable chance was adding Eris as the nearby planetary group's 10th undeniable planet. Sadly for Pluto, the discussion dropped into the IAU changing its meaning of a full planet and one standards, the capacity of a divine body to clear its environmental factors through gravitational strength, was met by neither Eris nor Pluto. For that reason, on August 26, 2006, Pluto was downgraded and another assignment, Bantam Planet, made. Alongside Pluto, Eris and Ceres were given this grouping also, with many naming Eris, the first dwarf, since its disclosure drove straightforwardly to this predetermined category. In truth, Eris' troublesome behavior is upheld in its actual name. When at first found in 2005, it was informally called Xena. Yet, given its troublesome effect on both the IAU and third-grade science projects, the planetoid was renamed to respect the Greek goddess of discord. Eris works up desire and jealousy to cause battling and outrage among men, clarifies Mike Brown, an educator of planetary stargazing at the California Institute of Technology. As legend has it, subsequent to being scorned for a wedding greeting, Eris resentfully began an altercation among goddesses that prompted the Trojan War. She's a significant fun goddess, truly, Brown adds. Pluto may utilize an alternate modifier. The potato-shaped dwarf. Another Kuiper belt local is Haumea, whose champion trademark is its unmistakable straightened shape. This is on the grounds that Haumea is one of the quickest turning huge articles in the close planetary system, and the power created by this turn twists the planetoid into an elliptical potato shape looking like more an American football than an European one. The days fly by on Haumea, which finishes a full pivot at regular intervals. That is amazingly quick in galactic terms, leaving researchers to guess that a huge effect billions of years prior may have started Haumea's rapid turn and, all the while, additionally made its two moons, Namaka and Hayaka. Haumea is named for the Hawaiian goddess of ripeness, her moons for the goddess fanciful daughters. Haumea has another element that separates it from its kin, rings. Researchers declared the revelation in 2017 subsequent to watching Haumea pass before a star, making it the initially realized Kuiper belt object with rings. Other than that, however, Haumea is somewhat of a secret. NASA's site concedes that next to no is thought about the Bantam planet's environment and surface. It's generally a similar width as Pluto, and takes marginally more, 285 years, to circle the Sun. In any case, what is thought about Haumea as of now recognizes it from its individual dwarves. Makemake finishes what Eris started. Another glad Kuiper belt native is Makemake, which additionally assumed a significant part in Pluto's ejection from the crew of undeniable planets. Quite a bit of this needs to do with timing. Like Eris, Makemake was found in mid-2005, and caused the IAU to reconsider its meaning of a planet. As referenced before, researchers at first, and mistakenly, trusted Eris was bigger than Pluto, prompting its brief thought for full planet status. Lamentably for them both, one of the elements that settled this question was the revelation of Makemake only 2 months after Eris. In contrast to examinations among Eris and Pluto, no such size-related case could be made for the minuscule Makemake, which was obviously far more modest than both. With Makemake, researchers had an article that unmistakably wasn't adequately huge to be known as a planet. Also, when it turned out to be evident that Pluto acted more like Makemake than, say, Mars, the issue at hand was obvious to everyone. There were presently 3 little planet-esque items in generally a similar spot, the Kuiper belt, acting comparatively. This drove straightforwardly to the affirmation, sanctioned in 2006, that lone items that reasonable its area through gravitational strength can be called full planets. None of the 3 met this standards. Eris' application for planethood was denied, and Pluto lost its position totally. U-Rock, Makemake. Clear a path for Makemake. Obviously, Makemake is in excess of a boss foil for wannabe planets. Makemake surpasses its more huge kin Eris as the second most brilliant item in the Kuiper belt, Just Pluto is more splendid. What's more, regardless of taking 305 Earth a long time to circle the Sun, a day on Make keeps going around 22.5 hours, fundamentally the same as days for us Earthlings and our nearest heavenly neighbor, Mars. As best stargazers can tell from so incredible a distance, Make is some 6,847,000,000 kilometers from the Sun, which is only 150 million kilometers away from us, a heavenly stone's toss. The planetoid is ruddy caramel in shading, similar to Pluto. Its surface gives off an impression of being abounding with ethane, just as huge pellets of frozen methane. Make likewise has a minuscule moon. Authoritatively named S2015136472-1 and tolerantly nicknamed MK2, the satellite's sweep is assessed to be only 80 kilometers. For the record, the close planetary system's littlest moon is Deimos, one of Mars' 2 moons, whose width gauge is just 11 kilometers. MK2 is roughly multiple times fainter than Make, so hard to recognize that NASA actually considers it a temporary moon. Finally, Make got its odd name in odd design. For reasons unknown, its pioneer nicknamed his discovering Easter Bunny. When the time had come to give the midget a legitimate name, after a god, similar to its heavenly kin, they picked Make, the maker lord of the Rapa Nui individuals of, you got it, Easter Island. Pluto was just waiting to be picked off. It's a little world all things considered. That was the end reached at an August 2006 gathering of the International Astronomical Union. And keeping in mind that solitary 424 of a qualified 9,000 democratic individuals took an interest, it added up to a planetary removal notice for Pluto. But the gathering accomplished more than diminish the close planetary system from 9 undeniable planets to 8. It additionally made an altogether new characterization of divine bodies. How about we investigate our nearby planetary group's 5 little ponders, the smaller person planets. 10 hypothetical planets that could exist in our solar SYSTEM10 series, so nice they classified it twice. Regardless of being the littlest of the 5 bantam planets, Ceres was the first found. The explanation is that Ceres, situated in the asteroid belt among Jupiter and Mars, is by a long shot the nearest. So despite the fact that it's the dwarfiest overshadow, Sicilian cosmologist Giuseppe Piazzi seen it back in 1801, over a century prior to Pluto made its planetary presence known. Calling Ceres a planet, even of the bantam assortment, appears to be liberal. At just 950 kilometers in distance across, its mass is simply 0.015% of Earth's and multiple times not as much as Pluto. Indeed, Ceres is tiny to the point that it's also delegated a space rock. However, with all due respect, it is the biggest space rock in the Sun-based system. Ceres is a stone among relative stones. It involves a full quarter of the asteroid belt's complete mass and, in contrast to its neighbors, has an almost round body and likely has water ice underneath its hull. Supporting this affirmation, in 2014 the European Space Agency's Herschel Space Observatory recognized water fume regurgitating from 2 unique regions of Ceres, potentially from ice volcanoes, which is pretty awesome. Ceres is particular enough from its environmental factors that it was offered bantam planet status in 2006. It is named for the Roman goddess of harvests, which is additionally how breakfast cereal got its name. Mission to Ceres. A trip back in time. Ceres is a still unblemished survivor from the soonest days of the nearby planetary group, some 4.6 billion years prior, so contemplating its qualities give disclosures into the nearby planetary group's essential structure blocks. In 2007, NASA dispatched an eager mission to extensively plan Ceres and Vesta, the following biggest article in the asteroid belt, by setting a shuttle in circle around it. Named the Dawn mission to pay tribute to its starting points-driven aims, the space apparatus arrived at Ceres in March 2015. The intel assembled shows Ceres probably framed farther from the Sun and moved into the internal nearby planetary group. This declaration was drawn on the grounds that Ceres' surface synthesis incorporates a lot of consolidated smelling salts, which requires the external nearby planetary group's colder temperatures to shape. The mission additionally found a wealth of water, incorporating a rough mantle with water-rich rocks, for example, muds, and a frigid external shell. Scientists were especially interested by Ceres organics, the structure squares of life. A particular carbon-hydrogen chain of organics was found in probably the most profound cavity, proposing the material at first shaped in its once profound ocean, adding to the energy as proof that Ceres was topographically a distant dwarf. In 2003, 3 years before Pluto got downgraded to the planetary JV crew, a threesome of analysts found what at the time was the coldest, most far-off known item in the nearby planetary group. Out of appreciation for its coldness, researchers accept the temperature there never transcends 400 degrees Fahrenheit. They named their discovering Sedna, after the Inuit goddess of the ocean who, legend has it, stays in the profundities of the Arctic Ocean, well past the Kuiper belt that 4 of the 5 bantam planets call home. Sedna is so distant that it's scarcely in the nearby planetary group, approximately 130 billion kilometers away. For the good of setting, the Sun is a simple 146 million kilometers from Earth. Following an odd curved circle, it takes Sedna about 10,500 Earth a long time to circle the Sun. That is incredibly long. Not so amazing, notwithstanding, is Sedna's size, which is assessed at between 1,300 to 1,770 kilometers in width, about 75% that of Pluto. All things considered, as bantam planets go, that is not disqualifyingly little. So the solitary explanation Sedna hasn't become the 6th smaller person is something many refer to as hydrostatic balance, a settling equilibrium of power squeezing both upwards and downwards. Sedna is excessively far away for this to be estimated utilizing current innovation, so for the present it's stuck at minor planet status, which appears to be absolutely unreasonable as I would see it. Punishing Sedna for our innovative inadequacies is average Earthling self-importance.